Hey everybody, this is Tony Gordon from T. Gordon Salon Talks, and I am so excited today to bring you another fabulous guest who will educate all of us on what's happening in our industry in so many different facets. Today I've got Marco Pelusi, who is a celebrity colorist and salon owner, product manufacturer, product maker, who has been working in Hollywood. And so, Marco, thank you so much for coming on T. Gordon Salon Talks.
I am so excited to be here. It's a great way to start the day.
So tell us, you are a celebrity stylist. What type of celebrities have you worked on?
Well, over the years, I would say it's been an equal part of men and women over the years. I guess some of the biggest names would probably be James Brolin.
Love James Brolin.
He's been really a great guy. I'm actually going to be working on him today in about an hour. And Jim's a great guy. He's actually doing a series right now called Life in Pieces on CBS, and that's been really fun. Other celebrity clients would be some of the females would be Carol Alt. Are you familiar with the supermodel Carol Alt? She's been a client for many years. I do a lot of people connected with fashion and in that arena as well. A lot of models. And some other guys would be Carson Kressley. Do you remember Carson Kressley from Queer Eye from the Straight Guy, the original one, the blonde guy?
Yeah.
Sort of another fashion style.
He's got great hair.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He's fun. I have a lot of really fun ones. Then I have some singers like John Mellencamp comes to see me if you're a fan. So, and then there's a whole slew of others. Some of them I can't mention. So.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. My sister's in that business as well, actually doing hair on set. And there's an enormous amount really that cannot be discussed, sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, well, the people that I mentioned, they don't mind talking about it. But there are a few others that you do have to respect people's privacy. And I always say treat every client like a celebrity.
I love that.
Especially when they walk into it. Yeah, I feel like every client needs to be treated like they're really special. And, in any way, especially after the recession, that really sunk in. It's like, how can we differentiate ourselves from other salons or other stylists? And I feel that really, really good customer service is really key. I mean, aside, you've got to be good technically. There has to be really good work. No one's going to come back to a hairdresser that doesn't do good work, but they do want good customer service too. It's very important.
So how is it different? And I know that there's a lot of young hairdressers out there and people who are listening to this who would love to work on celebrities and be in that whole scene, whether it's in a salon like you are, and we can talk about that, or, preparing people for on stage or on camera. How is it to work with the celebrities? Tell us a little bit about that experience. Do you have to clear your salon out to do it? Do you need a private room?
There are some of the celebrities, for example, that I cannot mention. I am lucky enough to go to their home and do their hair. So there are occasions where you may travel to the celebrity's house, and there are many ways to get connected to celebrities, similar to networking that any stylist would do to get connected to clients. And there are marketing opportunities that you can do when you're based in a certain area, just very similar to how you would market yourself in another area. And we're just lucky enough to be populated by celebrities. And sometimes when you go to those celebrities' houses, you do have to go through the assistant. Oftentimes, the assistant might have to be in the room with you while you're coloring or cutting their hair. for a little bit of security. You might have to go through a gate. They might have to pat you down a little bit. Then they get to know you, and it's not so bad. And as far as in the salon goes, I have an area of my salon that's a little more private in the back. And that's where I bring the celebrity clients. I also am on a second floor, and I chose that so that the stylists and the clients that would be attracted to my salon would feel a little bit more remote or away from the front of the street, because there's always a lot of cameras and paparazzi people following these guys around. And so I like to bring them into the back, and sometimes their managers will come with them. Sometimes their agents will come with them, accompany them, sort of show support, that sort of thing. And it's kind of a stressful job, because it's glamorous, but it's stressful, because you have to get that, especially the color has to be done right, because they're going to go on camera. So there's the added stress. I think even more, it's difficult to do hair on a set too, because you have to get the hair placed just right. But when you're doing color on a celebrity client, it has to be done really well, because this camera is going to zoom in, and each little strand has to be done well. And if there's a mishap, then it has to be fixed. It's kind of a lot at once, but
there is something also called continuity, which a lot of our listeners may not know about. In creation of a film or a TV show, you may film one scene on one day, and then the next day, if the hair color is completely different, and it literally looks like the same day in regard to the story, but but they were really filmed on different days. And in the meantime, the celebrity got their hair done.
yes, and that's another form of pressure, really, for the stylist, is to get that hair looking similar. You really can't make big changes. You may even want to sometimes I'll snap a photo of what I did to make sure that it matches, because they may even need to go back and do scenes later, even at a later date, where you have to look somewhat similar.
So true. That is really challenging.
You really have to deliver. You've really got to be on top of your game.
Yeah, but it's exciting and really challenging, and a cool reason to be in Hollywood. Is that the original reason why you went there and you set your salon up the way you did?
That's a really good question. I think if you follow your heart, and I think if you sort of let life happen to you while you're working hard, you have to work hard, you have to have a goal, but I think then other things will fall into place. And then if you can listen to those things, like, for example, I knew I either wanted to be in New York or LA. I don't know why. I wanted to be connected somehow to the entertainment industry. I did. And when I came to LA originally, I was lucky enough to have my dad bring me here. I fell in love with the weather too. I'm a warm weather person. So that's one of the reasons why I chose LA. Some people don't care. My family doesn't mind snow or flurrying. And I really like the warm weather. And then after a while, I've held a strong presence in the beauty industry. I really believe in our industry. I like to teach, and I taught on behalf of manufacturers. But then simultaneously, the first few years while I was doing that, I was building up some entertainment-based clientele just through friends and people that I had met and networking, and some of the connections I had through the hair industry. And then eventually I thought, gee, I really do need to find a space where I can work on these people. And yes, that was a big part of why I chose the location. You've got to come out and hang out with your sister, and whenever you get an opportunity. It would be great to have you here in LA. I know you're so busy there.
Well, we certainly are doing a lot here in Chicago, and we're used to the weather for sure. But I love to come to LA too, and so yeah, we'll come visit you. Maybe we'll do another taping in person. That would be really interesting. Come in and see your place. But I'm in Chicago. You are originally from Pennsylvania.
Yes. I mean, I spent the first over 20 years of my life in Pennsylvania. And my family's still there. They have a chain of salons. They've been at it since 1965. So these guys have been at it a long time. And I'm really glad I had that upbringing in the industry.
And I believe that my father and Philip and maybe your dad were all part of Inner Coiffure, and that's how we originally became connected. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those were I mean, Inner Coiffure is an amazing organization now, of course, but I think even at that point when your dad and everybody in my family was involved, those were really the kind of the good old days.
I think Inner Coiffure is back to the good old days. It's really great.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is really amazing about your family that you seem to continue to do in the tradition of is that they were product makers. And I wonder if you could talk about your product line, how you went about it, how, just give us a synopsis of your product and, why it's something that's really dramatically changing your career.
Thanks for asking, Tony. Yeah, I was really blessed, absolutely. And I'm sure you can relate. Growing up with these guys to emulate, and it was a cool experience. And yes, they did have, and they still do have their own products, and they've been always really passionate about it. So I grew up already understanding what it took to build a bottle of shampoo. And then when I left Pittsburgh, I knew I needed a job. I didn't want to just land in LA and hope for a business. I went with the hair color company and worked in-house with them and really got my feet wet with how hair color worked and the chemistry of hair color and the support products, the wet line with color. And then after a few years of that and really, really sinking my teeth in, I thought, gee, I have an entrepreneurial spirit here. I've got to do something else. There's something I'm craving to do. And part of the reason that I got my own space also, Tony, was because I really wanted to have a showplace for my products. And I'm a colorist. I've always been a hair colorist. And I wanted to create products that were specifically formulated to prevent premature color fade. And so after some time working with chemists at the hair color companies, I went back to a family friend who's a chemist and I said, what can we do? And this took several years. These kind of things take a long time to really get off the ground. It's not like you just show up one day and you're, holding a bottle of shampoo that's yours. And I went back to him and then we started going back and forth and with formulas and then a friend of mine who's also in the industry, she was a marketing person, she was helping me, and she said, we both looked at this one product that we were loving, the one formula that we were loving, and it had collagen in it. And I said, can we make all the other formulas? Can we put some form of collagen in all the other products? And he said, yes. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to put collagen in the products. And I'm a believer in restoring hair, especially overly color-treated hair, over-processed hair, restoring hair color, all of that, and conditioning and integrity. That's really where I come from, is conditioning and maintaining and restoring hair and hair color, in a nutshell.
So how long did it... Sorry about that. How long did it take to develop the line? Like, how long have you been involved in creating it? How many years have passed?
13 years.
13 years you've been developing products.
Yes. I would say the first 3 years I was working on it, and even the inception was probably before the first 3 years, so more like 14. And then probably about 10 years ago is when I launched a shampoo and a conditioner, and soon after I opened my salon. And then I added my leave-in conditioner, and then I added styling products, and gradually have added more over the years. And it's something that builds on itself, and I have it in a few retailers here in LA and at a few salons, but I mostly focus it online, at my salon and online. And I've done some TV appearances over the years, and we get some good ratings at some of the beauty blogs. There's one called Total Beauty that keeps putting us as in the top 12 list for leave-in conditioners. So that's really a blessing. And then people use the leave-in conditioner, and then they go and look online and they read about mine, or they use mine, and then they write a good review, and then it sort of snowballs. I think it's sort of the same thing when you're sitting in a salon doing hair. When your work speaks for itself. When the work is good, people come back, and or they refer other people, and that's kind of what happens with products, and also with product reviews online. It's sort of the same thing. If people write favorable reviews, others will follow. Just like a salon, just like services. No, it's kind of all the same.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people have thought about, and there's a lot of discussion now about people creating their own product lines in the salons that they have. And it's not, I like your thoughts on it. It's a little bit more than simply one day you just show up with a line of products. You really have to develop this thing. And along with that, you're doing an entire education method. You're educating people all across the industry. So talk to us about some of the classes that you offer.
It's really been exciting. I have not wanted to abandon my teaching. I really feel passionate about it. And for the last 10 years, I have been teaching independently at the International Beauty Show in New York and in Las Vegas. I've done some other ones in between, but those are the ones that I mainly focus on. I like getting an East Coast and a West Coast. I like to be able to get back to New York, and I love connecting with stylists. Yeah. And I am a colorist. So for me, I'm literally sharing what I do in the salon. I developed a signature highlighting and low lighting strategy, and it also works for off the scalp highlighting. So that is something that I have focused on a lot in my classes. And I also sometimes will pop up with a reds curriculum. I'm really passionate about doing red hair coloring, sometimes brunettes. In this coming year, I'm going to do some reds and some off the scalp highlighting at the next IBS show. And yeah, and then I get a chance to show people my products as well when I'm doing that.
That's great. How many people do you normally get in a class?
There can be a couple hundred in the classroom presentations, where it's one of those large rooms, and that's a demo. So that's where I'm up demonstrating and talking. And then we also will typically do a hands-on classroom, and there's usually about 50 people. And I have people that come with me. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's huge. That's big. It really is.
It's work. It's a real deal. Yeah, I have a whole team of people that accompanies me now on this that I've developed over the years. Again, this isn't something that you just sort of show up and start teaching at the shows. I have a wonderful group of hairdressers who like to come and are passionate about doing work. It's kind of another fun stress, sort of like the celebrity stress. It's like when you're back behind the show and getting stuff ready, and it's a fun time.
Hey, so I've talked to a lot of people. You're in California. You have a salon in California. I've talked to a lot of hairdressers in our podcast, salon owners, about some of the challenges that they've had owning salons in California, because California has gone through so much upheaval in regard to the laws around how people get paid and everything else. What's your take on some of that, being that you're right in the middle of it?
Yeah, I feel like it's important to have a contract. I feel like contracts are really important with people who are going to be doing hair in a salon. I feel like it's important for the stylist and for the owner to get everything really clear, so that if you are an employee, then it would state that. And if you are not an employee, if you are renting a station, it has to be spelled out very clear that you are renting a station, and there really can't be any overlap. The only overlap happens, it might be that they might buy some of my products to use or to sell to their client. But for the most part, when someone, and it's I believe 98% booth rental, something like that, when I
in
last checked.
California.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Booth renters are a big deal in California. And I think for me, it's like, if you want to be in business as a salon, you really have to be open to renting stations in this area.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing for a hairstylist. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you if you would rather have a situation more like what you had in Pennsylvania or your family had there, what we have, greater diversity in the salon types. Would you rather something like that would occur in California?
Yes, I would like to see that in California. I would like to see other types of salons happen here. For me, in what I do, because we talked about it, and I have a lot happening with my products and with my teaching and with my celebrity clients. So I'm brought out of the salon often. So for me, it works well to have these these booth renters coming in and out and running. They have a key and they run their own show. For me, it works better because I don't have as much time to be in the salon. But I would like to see some larger salons that are commission based. It's kind of a tricky thing for the stylist. And I remember this when I was first starting out. It's hard because there's not really a place where you can go to build a clientele. It's kind of like, how do I, as a stylist, build a clientele? You sort of have to meet people and do it on your own and hustle and then eventually sort of put some things together and rent a station, as opposed to, like a wonderful salon that would foster and mentor stylists. I enjoy mentoring stylists. I get that out when I'm teaching. So I get to experience that with that. But as far as being a salon owner in California, it's much different, especially in LA, because of the fact that every stylist wants to be a booth renter. So everyone's kind of running their own show. I hope that it sort of gives you some idea of what's happening out here. So.
Yeah, it does actually, but it surprises me that there aren't people who also want to simply just be in a salon and not have to take their own money, not have to fold their own towels, that kind of thing. That I wonder how many people who would normally be a stylist are not stylists now because they weren't able to work through that time period of getting busy.
I think you couldn't have said it better. I think it is so hard. I think it is really hard to be a renter and it's really difficult. Once you find it, your groove, it's good, but there's so many other things that have to be taken into account, like just getting an accountant, for example, because if you're renting a station, that's your business and you have to have an accountant and you have to be a business person. And as you said, it's quite challenging. And I think you're right. There aren't a lot of people that make it in this area, sadly. Now, I will say that we do offer part-time rental. So oftentimes someone may not be able to or be interested in renting full-time. So there are options for that. There's a million options to rent a chair part-time.
Yeah, I find that in this area, or in my salons, we have 4 salons with 60 plus people, that there's a lot of people who just love the art of it. They really love the art of doing hair. They love the art of being able to create, and that's their main focus. And then there's other people also who just love doing their clients and then going home to their kids and their family, and then they come back the next day and do more hair. And they don't want to be bothered with any of that. They get a check every 2 weeks and they're really loving that lifestyle. And they do it for literally 20, 30 years, right in the same place. And it's great for them, and it allows them, there's some level of flexibility, we're not in an industry that's that flexible. You know, people need to get their hair done every month or every 6 weeks. So you better be there. And if you're not, then they find somebody else. But I think also what's great about our environment is that it also creates a team orientation. So if your stylist is on vacation, you can go to the other one and then go back to, you. So it really has a symbiosis, which is so different than even commission, but also different than booth rental for sure. But it really is fascinating how our industry is flowing. And sometimes I wonder how many young hairdressers we could keep in our game, that would keep in our industry, that would make it, rather than go off and become baristas or something.
Yeah, I miss that sometimes, that sense of family. I try to create it in other areas, mostly when I'm teaching.
Exactly.
Yeah, I miss that at times. Absolutely. It's it's a little fragmented, or maybe quite fragmented, the way things are set up in this area. Kind of have to accept it and kind of work with it, work around it.
So
For
if you,
example, when I teach,
yes, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I say when I teach, for example, if, for example, a salon chain were to hire me to come and teach hair color, that doesn't really happen in Southern California. I would go to another area, for example, Texas. I've been brought out to Texas a few times, and it's wonderful to be able to. There's a spirit, and so I know what you're saying. That model doesn't really exist right here.
Yeah. And I think it's been imposed by the political environment that's going on there. But speaking of politics, if you could get your hair if you can get your hands on, let's say, on somebody in the White House, who would you want to color there? Who would you change? What would you do? Would it be Melania, Donald? Who would you want to change their hair? And what would you
I
do?
think I think Melania looks great, so I don't think
Yes.
there's much to do with her. But I do think that obviously Mr. Trump can use some help with his hair. I actually have known people that have, in the past, when he was in entertainment, that have worked with him, and I would love to tone down the brassiness in his hair color. I would love to make it more of a bit. That's the one thing I would like to do. Make it more of a. If he wants to stay blonde, we could make it more of a beige, kind of more of a wheat color, rather than kind of a yellow orange. And it wouldn't even take that much. We could look at the haircut too. It's obviously long and kind of disheveled and out of shape. But I think the first thing that needs to be done, that needs to be addressed, is that it needs to be more beige, needs to be more wheat, rather than yellow.
You would tone him down.
Melania looks definitely. Throw a toner on it today. Let's do it. Yeah. But
Maybe
Melania looks good.
you could like submerge him in a toner.
Yeah, or at least maybe we could send in some violet shampoo, you know.
I love it. Yeah, Melania's hair is excellent in my
Yeah,
opinion.
she's a beautiful woman. I mean, her hair is beautiful. It's a rich brunette. So there's not much to do really, other than maybe if she wanted to add a little bit of a spice it up a little bit with a few highlights, the last few inches, to kind of make it a little bit different. That
Mhm,
could be fun.
mhm. Marco, I just want to thank you for coming on T. Gordon Salon Talks. Your insights into all that you are doing are so important for so many different people who really want to know about these topics. If people want to get in touch with you, if they want to bring you in for a class or want to find out more about your products and you, where do they go?
They can go to my website, which is marcopelusi.com. It's pelusi.com. And they also can just call me. I'll give you my studio number. It's 310-967-0999.
And let's point out that you are no relation to Nancy.
No, you know, it's so funny because some of my friends have known her and they took my product and showed her because, you know, it has the yeah. Anyway. No, I'm not related. She's probably Italian though, I would guess. I don't know. But,
She's
yeah.
Paisan, yeah. So, all right, man. Have a great time. Tell James hello from us. I think he knows my sister actually. And you have a great day. Thank you so much.
Tony, thank you for the opportunity.